Hey guys, tonight we're flipping through the static-filled wonderland that was 1950s childhood, where the real parent in the house wasn't mom or dad, but a glowing television screen beaming out ads for sugar, soap, and the American dream. If you thought your childhood was weird, just wait until you hear about the kids whose bedtime stories came straight from cereal boxes and who learned life lessons from a cartoon clown screaming about dish detergent. Before you settle in, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you actually enjoy this absurd trip through TV history. And drop a comment telling me what your go-to comfort food commercial was as a kid. Mine? Anything that promised I could become a superhero if I ate enough marshmallows. Now dim those lights, switch on a fan for that comforting white noise, and get comfortable. Maybe prop your feet up like you're about to watch Saturday morning cartoons, only without the risk of asbestos insulation falling from the ceiling. Let's pause for a moment. Have you ever wondered what it was like to have your entire worldview shaped by animated mascots with suspiciously large eyes? Did kids really believe smoking was doctor approved? Were parents just outsourcing parenting to a guy in a plaid suit selling mayonnaise? Did a generation of children actually beg their mums for radioactive chemistry sets? Or is that just a fever dream conjured by too many jingles? Tonight, you're not just falling asleep, you're travelling back to a living room where the furniture is covered in plastic, the milk is delivered in glass, and the only authority you respect is the announcer's booming voice telling you, 4 out of 5 dentists recommend sugar-coated gum for healthy teeth. Congratulations! You've just woken up at 1955. The TV is already on. You open your eyes and immediately see the real boss of the house, a boxy Zenith television, humming away in the living room. It's 7 a.m. and you haven't even had breakfast, but you already know what's coming. Hours of flickering images, catchy jingles, and a gentle parental neglect masked as screen time. Welcome to 1955. Where discipline comes from the FCC and your babysitter is whatever's on Channel 5. The day doesn't really begin until someone clicks the big metal knob and that familiar static crackles to life. The room fills with a glow both cold and comforting, less sunrise, more radioactive toaster oven. You can practically taste the anticipation and the faint dust that coats the screen. The TV isn't just a piece of furniture, it's a member of the family, only quieter than your siblings and significantly more respected than your father's recliner. Sometimes you wonder if the Zenith gets more hugs than you do. Your mother is already up, tiptoeing around with curlers in her hair, clutching a coffee mug that says "World's Okayest Mom." She says good morning, but she's talking to the coffee, not you. Dad grumbles from behind the newspaper, occasionally peering over the top to check the weather. On TV, of course, because why trust your own eyes when a man in a suit can tell you what to believe? The TV offers a routine as steady as sunrise. First, the news. A somber man with hair so shiny it could reflect your insecurities back at you, reads headlines about far-off places you can't pronounce. Then, without warning, the screen explodes into a flurry of dancing cartoon mascots selling toothpaste, cars, or the next big thing in processed meat. The volume never seems quite right, either a polite whisper you can barely hear, or a blaring assault that wakes the neighbour's dog 3 blocks over. You settle on the scratchy carpet, legs crossed, eyes wide, absorbing the wisdom of television's finest philosophers, animated rabbits, talking dogs, and a host of human adults dressed like overgrown children. You trust them all more than you trust your own relatives. They seem to know what's best for you. More sugar, more soap, and apparently more furniture polish. Your parents pretend they're in control. Don't sit too close. You'll ruin your eyes, they warn, from the safety of the kitchen, halfway through their second cup of Sanka. You nod dutifully, sliding a few inches back, but you both know the TV is the one in charge. If the Zenith says it's time for a commercial break, you go to the bathroom. If it tells you about a new toy, you add it to your birthday list. By the time the midday shows roll around, Your worldview has been shaped by a flickering screen and a string of advertisements delivered with the urgency of a presidential address. The TV does what real parents can't. It never argues, it never gets tired, and it always has something to say. It's the ultimate multitasker, teacher, entertainer, and stern disciplinarian all rolled into one. Forget time out. If you're bad, you don't get to watch the Ed Sullivan Show, and honestly, that's the only punishment you'll remember. You don't know it yet, but you're witnessing the birth of a new kind of family dynamic, one where the TV is a silent referee in every argument, a constant dinner guest and the source of every inside joke. You learn your morals from sitcoms, your fashion sense from soap operas, and your negotiating skills from whatever game show is blaring in the background. The grown-ups call it progress. You call it Tuesday. By bedtime, your brain is a stew of jingles, sound effects, and fragments of dialogue you'll parrot back at your bewildered teacher tomorrow. The last thing you see before you go to sleep isn't your parents tucking you in. It's the white noise of a test pattern and the gentle buzz of a machine that never truly rests. Good night, Zenith. Thanks for raising us. At least you never forgot our birthdays. The family couch is shoved awkwardly against the wall, angled for maximum TV visibility. Your parents say grace at dinner, but they worship the glowing screen at night. Every chair is an altar, every coffee table a shrine to the gods of soap commercials and canned ham. If there's a commandment in your household, it's, "Thou shalt not block the television." You learn this lesson the hard way, possibly before you're fully potty trained. A single misstep, a head bobbing in front of the set during the $64,000 question, and you'll feel the icy glare of a dozen disappointed relatives. Your grandmother, who hasn't walked unaided since 1949, can suddenly lunge across the shag carpet with Olympic agility if you dare disrupt her program. There's a pecking order to the seating too, as ancient and inviolable as any feudal system. Dad gets the best spot, an overstuffed recliner that has seen more naps than a kindergarten classroom. You naturally get the floor. The living room, in theory, is for family time. In practice, it's a battlefield of personal territory, marked by the faint outlines of worn upholstery and the residual warmth of someone else's behind. Your mother claims a corner of the couch, her knitting basket perched within reach, but you notice her needles slow every time a detergent commercial comes on. She's listening, absorbing, quietly plotting to outclean the neighbour's entire bloodline. Your siblings jockey for position, feigning indifference but tensing like sprinters at the starting gun every time a bathroom break is announced. First one back gets the seat closest to the set. There's a peculiar ritual to the furniture arrangement. The couch is not meant for conversation, eye contact, or anything so gauche as interpersonal connection. It is an apparatus, a vehicle for viewing. Coffee tables, once intended for tea and polite conversation, are now mere landing pads for ashtrays, bowls of potato chips, and the ever-present TV guide, annotated in the margins like a holy text. The lamps too have been repositioned. Any source of glare is banished to the outer darkness, replaced by a soft, indirect glow, enough to see your food, but not enough to reflect on the existential void that is prime time. Every evening is choreographed. Dinner finishes, plates clatter into the sink and the migration begins. A shuffle of slippers, the crinkle of plastic slipcovers, the controlled chaos of a family aligning itself to face a box that promises answers and rarely delivers. The television stands at attention, ensconced in a walnut cabinet with the presence of an oracle. Occasionally the screen flickers and rolls, or the antenna must be adjusted, preferably by you, the youngest, sent to the wilderness behind the set to twist dials and risk mild electrocution, while everyone shouts a little more. No, back the other way. The air smells like a mix of popcorn, new carpet, and whatever cologne Dad thought was appropriate for the evening news. You can hear the faint buzz of electricity, the soothing lull of canned laughter, and the underlying tension of a family united not by conversation, but by a mutual pact to never speak during gunsmoke. You notice after a while that everything in the room serves a single purpose, facilitating the act of watching. Curtains are drawn to keep the outside world from interfering. Pets are banished if they show even the slightest interest in barking at commercials. The phone is left to ring, unanswered, because nothing short of a house fire will pull anyone's attention from I Love Lucy. It's almost religious. You know you should be moved by the sermon at Sunday Mass, but it's nothing compared to the hush that falls when the CBS logo spins onto the screen. Even arguments are muted during the opening credits. Siblings settle ancient scores through silent strategic elbowing, knowing that any outburst will be met with immediate exile to the kitchen. And so, you sit, cross-legged, surrounded by furniture angled in submission to the great glowing idol. You may not understand the plot or why anyone needs a special soap just for ring around the collar, but you know this. In the temple of the living room, the TV is both judge and saviour, and your only commandment is to keep watching. It's breakfast, which means you're not really eating. You're absorbing a marketing pitch delivered by a manic cartoon animal. Sugar-frosted flakes, Trix, or that one cereal with a pirate on the box. Your entire nutritional intake is determined by whichever mascot shouts loudest at 8 a.m. The kitchen smells faintly of burnt toast and instant coffee, but your attention is elsewhere, glued to the television as a leering tiger does backflips to convince you that his flakes are great. It's less about flavour and more about hypnosis. You haven't even poured the milk, and already you're chanting slogans under your breath like some kind of breakfast cultist. You reach for the cereal box that promised adventure, athleticism, and possibly night vision if you squint at the back long enough. Your parents, still half asleep, look on in resignation. Breakfast used to be a simple meal, oatmeal, maybe an egg, something that didn't require a licensed character to approve. But now every box in the cupboard is a gaudy shrine to the power of advertising, each one more colourful and sugary than the last. The grown-ups pretend it's about quick nutrition, but really it's about 5 minutes of silence while the children worship at the altar of Tony the Tiger. You tip the box, watching a cascade of neon-coloured shapes tumble into the bowl. The sound is artificial, a plasticky clatter that's as much a part of the morning ritual as the weather report or your dad's sigh of defeat. There's something almost religious about it. The careful pouring, the reverent reading of the back panel, the small hope that this time the toy inside won't be another plastic disappointment. Each bite is an act of faith in a system that promises more than it delivers. The cereal mascots don't just sell breakfast, they sell identity. Are you mischievous, like the rabbit who will never taste his own cereal? Brave, like Captain Crunch, the only naval officer with no discernible command of a ship or dental hygiene? Or maybe you're drawn to the mysterious allure of Count Chocula, the vampire who only appears when the sugar content spikes above 30%. Every kid picks a side, like breakfast is a political movement and the kitchen table is your voting booth. And the slogans, oh, the slogans. You know more advertising jingles than you do state capitals. Your mind is a warehouse of slogans and catchphrases, most of which have absolutely nothing to do with food. You don't eat cereal because you're hungry. You eat it because the cartoon told you it would make you popular, fast, smart, and, in a pinch, able to solve minor household emergencies. If breakfast is the most important meal of the day, it's only because the ads told you so. Meanwhile, your mother glances at the back of the box, pretending to care about the 8 essential vitamins and minerals. She quietly ignores the fact that the first ingredient is sugar, followed by corn, followed by more sugar disguised as something called maltodextrin. The milk turns pink or blue or green depending on the flavour of the week, and no one seems concerned that it's glowing faintly in the early morning light. There's a fleeting moment of happiness when you fish the prize out of the box, a plastic submarine, a decoder ring. maybe a sticker that will survive exactly 4 hours before becoming permanently fused to the kitchen table. You treasure it anyway. For a brief second, you're the happiest person on earth, because the television said you would be. And when breakfast ends, the propaganda lingers. You'll spend the rest of the day humming jingles, arguing with your friends over which mascot would win in a fight, and begging your parents for the new deluxe version of the same cereal you already have. You've been outmaneuvered by a cartoon rabbit, outsmarted by a leprechaun, and financially devastated by a toucan with a suspiciously lavish lifestyle. But hey, at least you started your day with a balanced meal, balanced on the razor edge of advertising and the hope that next time, the toy will finally live up to the hype. Saturday mornings are sacred. Pajamas, a mixing bowl full of Technicolor sugar, and a lineup of cartoons so carefully engineered for maximum toy tie-in, you'd think the government was involved. Forget chores. You've got a meeting with Tony the Tiger and his diabolical friends. The moment you wake, you know, this isn't a school day, it's a spiritual experience. The world is quiet except for the faint hum of your neighbour's lawnmower and the low, conspiratorial whisper of the TV warming up. You slide down the hallway, feet barely touching the cold linoleum, clutching your chosen bowl, the largest in the house, the one usually reserved for popcorn or mixing concrete. Today, it's your holy grail. The ritual begins. First, you fill the bowl with cereal, piling it high enough to defy architectural logic. Then you drown it in milk, or at least something labelled milk. In the 1950s, it could be powdered, reconstituted, or, if your family's feeling wild, delivered that morning in a glass bottle with a paper cap. The cereal box sits beside you like a talisman, its mascot grinning with the barely concealed menace of someone who knows exactly what this breakfast will do to your blood sugar. You eat with the TV on, the sunlight slanting through the curtains, your parents wisely staying in bed until the sugar storm passes. Cartoons blast from the set, one after another, each noisier than the last. You're not just a viewer, you're a disciple. Bugs Bunny teaches you sarcasm. The Roadrunner teaches you resilience and how to order from a catalogue. By 9 a.m., you've absorbed more violence, wit, and improbable physics than any adult could reasonably explain. Every 5 minutes, a commercial break summons you to covet a new plastic toy, available for just $1, 99 cents plus box tops, and the patience of a saint. Your siblings join, drawn by the siren call of Looney Tunes and the faint promise of a second breakfast. The living room morphs into a battlefield of elbows, spilled milk, and arguments over who gets to choose the next show. You perfect the art of the silent, strategic box grab. If you're quick, you can read the back before anyone else, memorizing the maze or the decoder puzzle that offers the illusion of learning. Parental authority is reduced to vague warnings from the next room. Don't sit too close to the screen, they call out, but you're already part of the broadcast, your eyes glazed with cartoon zeal. Sometimes, your parents make an appearance, usually to remind you that you will in fact have to turn the TV off eventually, and that a diet consisting solely of marshmallows will not make you invincible, no matter what the commercial says. You nod, but you're not really listening. You're too busy plotting your strategy for obtaining the next cereal prize, or trying to decode the dark secrets hidden in the ingredient list. By late morning, you've worked your way through 3 cartoons, 2 bowls of cereal, and at least a dozen advertisements. You've developed the kind of focus usually reserved for monks or nuclear scientists. The floor is a crunchy minefield of escaped cereal bits. Your pajamas are now 2 shades stickier than when you woke up. You feel powerful, jittery, and faintly immortal. There's a unity in the ritual. Kids across the country, millions of them, are sitting in living rooms just like yours, united by the electric glow of broadcast television and the shared delusion that this morning will never end. For a few hours you are part of something bigger, a cult of cartoons, a congregation of sugar-fueled acolytes, worshipping at the altar of consumer childhood. But then suddenly, it's over. The cartoons end. The news comes on. Or worse, golf. Your parents reclaim the TV and the spell is broken. You look around, dazed, blinking in the harsh light of reality. The only evidence of your devotion is a bowl ringed with dried milk, a floor littered with sugary shrapnel, and the distant echo of a tiger's voice assuring you that, yes, everything is great. And for one sacred morning it truly was. Every 12 minutes the show pauses so you can be bombarded with pleas for more stuff. Toys, snacks, dental cream, cars. By the time your cartoon comes back, you're convinced you need at least 3 new products, or you'll die of social irrelevance. The transition is always jarring. One moment, you're watching a coyote plunge off a cliff for the 4th time in 10 minutes. The next, you're being assaulted by a clown with a new line of bubblegum that, apparently, will make you faster, funnier, and more popular at school. Your brain doesn't even have time to question the logic. All you know is that life will be incomplete, possibly meaningless, unless you acquire this week's miracle invention. Snack time becomes a reflex, synchronized perfectly with a commercial break. Like Pavlov's dog, you bolt from the floor the instant the credits for the next ad start to roll, tripping over siblings, pets, and that mysterious dent in the linoleum nobody talks about. You arrive in the kitchen, eyes glazed, reaching for whatever's closest. Cookies, crackers, or something called cheese product that comes in a can and should probably have a skull and crossbones on the label. The TV blares from the next room, promising happiness in every box and untold athletic prowess in every sugar cube. You barely taste anything. Every bite is simply fuel for your next sprint back to the living room. You fear missing even a second of your cartoon, partly because you love it, partly because you've learned the hard way that if you linger too long, someone else will steal your spot. Commercial breaks are the Wild West of household lore, where only the quickest, boldest, and most sugar-addled survive. But the commercials themselves, they work on you in ways that your teachers could only dream of. You recite their jingles involuntarily, humming along while you brush your teeth, with the toothpaste you begged for because 9 out of 10 dentists said you should. You memorize catchphrases and slogans with cult-like devotion. If a cereal box told you to jump off a bridge, you'd ask if there was a limited edition toy at the bottom. The advertisers know you better than your own family. They know your fears, being left out, not having the latest toy, failing to impress your classmates with the shiniest pair of sneakers or the loudest snack. The announcer's voice is always warm, reassuring, conspiratorial. Only kids like you know about the secret decoder ring, he intones, and suddenly you're special, part of a club you didn't even know existed. You plead your case at the grocery store, unleashing all the persuasive power of a pint-sized lawyer hopped up on red dye number 3. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you're left to stare wistfully at the unattainable, convinced you'll never be as cool as the kids in the ad, whose hair is always perfect and whose mothers never yell at them to wipe their feet. And the products, well, they rarely live up to the promise. The rocket ship turns out to be a cardboard tube with stickers. The indestructible toy soldier loses an arm before you get home. The snack that promised fun in every bite mostly delivers a suspicious aftertaste and crumbs in your pajamas. You keep hoping, though. Next time will be different. The next product, the next jingle, the next 60-second pitch, surely that one will change everything. As the commercials fade and the show returns, you settle back into your spot, snack in hand, heart still thumping with commercial-induced longing. You're a little more sugared up, a little more convinced that happiness is just a purchase away. The cartoon resumes, and for a brief moment you forget about the toy, the sneakers, the snack until the next break, when the cycle repeats. And somewhere in the back of your mind you wonder if the real entertainment isn't the show at all, but the breathless anticipation of what they'll try to sell you next. You've barely wiped the milk from your chin before the TV starts telling you about the latest must-have toy. Cap guns, model rockets, dolls that wet themselves, each one available wherever toys are sold. No one asks if you want it. The ad already decided. The moment the commercial hits, you're no longer just a kid in pajamas, you're a secret agent, a cowboy, an astronaut, or maybe all three, depending on which 30-second spot hijacks your imagination first. Your living room becomes a runway for plastic vehicles and a testing ground for every dubious as seen on TV feature. The announcer's voice is urgent, breathless, and slightly hypnotic, assuring you that only real kids own the new X1000 Ray Blaster or Dream Date Debbie with real blinking eyes. Your breakfast table transforms into a war council. You strategize with your siblings. Should you pool your allowances for the rocket car? Or will that just end in heartbreak and accusations when it only travels 3 feet before exploding in a shower of disappointment? You try to read the fine print at the bottom of the screen, but you're 8, and the only words you recognize are batteries not included and some assembly required, ominous prophecies that haunt your toy dreams. It doesn't matter how many toys you already own. The commercial assures you that this one, this time, will fill the yawning void inside your sugar-addled soul. The kids in the ad look deliriously happy. Their homes suspiciously tidy, their parents never yelling about tiny wheels left underfoot. You're convinced the right toy will make you smarter, faster, more popular, and, in the case of the new deluxe spy kit, possibly immune to adult supervision altogether, you start plotting your campaign. The most advanced tactics are reserved for birthdays and holidays, but in emergencies you can deploy the big guns, the impromptu tantrum, the cereal box coupon redemption, or the old-fashioned guilt trip. But all the other kids have one. Your parents, for their part, are largely immune. They've seen this look in your eyes before, the wild, desperate glint of a child under the influence of mid-century marketing. Sometimes they cave, but usually they counterattack with a devastating reminder that you still haven't played with the magic tricks that you swore would make you rich and famous last year. If you're lucky, if the stars align and your allowance has not been squandered on comic books and jawbreakers, you make the pilgrimage to Toylandia itself, the local department store. Here, aisles stretch on forever, lined with rows of bright boxes, each one promising adventure, happiness, or at the very least a choking hazard. You beg, you plead, you negotiate the complex emotional terrain of parental bribery. Sometimes you win, walking out with a toy so glorious you almost forget to breathe. Other times, you leave empty-handed, nursing a grudge against capitalism and your mother's commitment to teaching you the value of money. Of course, no toy ever works quite like it did on TV. The rocket only launches once, directly into the neighbour's dog. The doll's realistic features last approximately 3 days before its eyes stick permanently closed, and the cap gun mysteriously vanishes after your 4th straight afternoon of neighbourhood warfare. But it doesn't matter. The cycle will begin anew tomorrow, with a new commercial and a new promise of superpowers just one purchase away. At the end of the day, as you drift off to sleep, your toys scattered across the floor like tiny plastic soldiers, you still believe. Because in Toylandia, hope is renewable, disappointment is temporary, and the next great adventure is always available wherever toys are sold. The TV lady in pearls assures your mother that her value as a human is directly tied to the brightness of your socks. The house must sparkle, anything less is social ruin. And if the neighbours see a spot on your shirt, expect a government inquiry. Every commercial break brings another lesson in domestic terror, delivered by impossibly cheerful women with sculpted hair and the steady gaze of someone who's either seen too much or not nearly enough. They hold up boxes of detergent like holy relics, promising that with just one scoop, your family will ascend to a higher plane of respectability. Whiter than white, they proclaim, as if failing to achieve this mystical shade is a personal moral failing, punishable by exile from polite society and the PTA. Your mother receives these messages with the seriousness usually reserved for presidential addresses. She inspects your clothes with a clinical eye, searching for invisible stains. There's a hierarchy of shame. Grass stains, ink blots, and the ultimate sin ring around the collar. The only thing more terrifying than finding a spot is the suspicion that the neighbours might have noticed before you did. The front yard is a stage and laundry day is opening night. The house itself is an endless battleground. There's a scent, chemical, citrusy, with a hint of desperation that lingers in every room, evidence of another round with the mop and bucket. Your mother's arsenal is vast. Powders, liquids, bleaches, polishes, and a secret cache of scouring pads reserved for company only. Each product has its own commercial and accompanying jingle. You hum them under your breath as you scrub the kitchen floor, convinced you're participating in the great drama of American cleanliness. There's a ritual to Saturday chores, windows thrown open, radio blaring, you and your siblings drafted into the war on dirt. The TV is your mother's general, issuing orders via soap operas and mid-morning commercials. She dusts, polishes and wipes until her hands resemble those of a prize fighter. If she pauses, it's only to jot down the name of a new detergent or to frown at a neighbour's yard, calculating the shine differential between your mailbox and theirs. You learn early that the greatest threat to your mother's well-being is not germs or grime, but judgment. Mrs. Abernathy next door is rumoured to own a vacuum so powerful it can suck the joy from a room in under 2 minutes. The arrival of her new mop is discussed in hushed tones at the dinner table, an arms race in linoleum lustre that cannot be lost. Failure to keep up is not an option. There are unspoken rules. Curtains must be washed, silver polished, and towels arranged with military precision. Guests may arrive at any time, and when they do, they will inspect the baseboards. The TV promises salvation, a miracle spray, a new powder, a bar of soap that will scrub away not just dirt, but decades of accumulated shame. Each product is accompanied by testimonials from grateful housewives who look exactly like your mother, only slightly less tired. They beam at the camera, clutching their pristine towels, and assure you that with the right detergent, happiness is within reach. You begin to wonder if cleanliness is an actual virtue, the secret ingredient in the American dream. Maybe success isn't measured in gold or glory, but in the blinding glare of sun bouncing off a freshly waxed floor. Maybe heaven itself is just a suburb where every window sparkles and every sock is as white as the driven snow. By bedtime, you're half convinced the only thing standing between your family and complete societal collapse is that new bottle of lemon-scented floor cleaner under the sink. Your mother sleeps soundly, dreaming of spotless counters, while the rest of you pray that tomorrow's commercials don't introduce another must-have miracle. Because in the cult of clean, salvation is always just one wash away. Imagine you're watching a cartoon, and suddenly the break features a friendly doctor explaining how much he enjoys his daily smoke. 9 out of 10 doctors recommend something that will absolutely kill you by 50. You wonder if grown-ups are okay. This is not an exaggeration. In 1955, the distance between cartoon cat and cigarette ad was exactly the time it took for your father to mutter, "Now." That's a real man and your mother to change the ashtray. The lines were blurred, and so, frankly, was the air. Every living room was thick with a haze of second-hand heroism and menthol. You could barely see the television, but you sure as heck could smell the American dream. It's hard to overstate the authority of a man in a white coat back then. If the doctor on TV says cigarettes are refreshing and soothing to the throat, well, who are you to argue? After all, he also said to brush with radioactive toothpaste and drink more Ovaltine. Grown-ups nod, satisfied, as if the only thing standing between you and good health is a carton of Lucky Strikes. You start to wonder if maybe the periodic table is just a list of future cigarette flavours. Your parents are model citizens, at least according to the commercials. Dad's after-dinner routine: loosen the tie, unbuckle the belt, and reach for a smoke with the solemnity of a religious ritual. If he's feeling especially lively, he'll light up 2 at once during the evening news, exhaling with the deep contentment of a man who has successfully avoided talking about his feelings for another day. Mum prefers something mild, ideally advertised by a glamorous movie star in a dress so tight it squeaks. She aspires to the elegance of a woman who can vacuum with one hand and hold a cigarette with the other, all while keeping her lipstick perfect. Kids, meanwhile, absorb these messages with the wide-eyed sincerity of the truly impressionable. The Marlboro Man, with his weathered face and heroic squint, is everywhere. Billboards, magazines, matchbooks. He looks like he could wrestle a steer or fix your bike. You don't know what's in his saddlebag, but you assume it's either cigarettes or the answers to life's greatest mysteries. Cowboys smoke, doctors smoke, Santa Claus probably sneaks one in behind the reindeer shed. It's not just normal, it's aspirational. You play make-believe with candy cigarettes, blowing clouds of powdered sugar and practicing your best squint. The older kids teach you how to tap the end like a seasoned pro, and you memorize taglines. More doctors smoke Camels. Toasted for your pleasure. The smooth taste preferred by America's best families. No one blinks. If anything, grown-ups seem proud. A sure sign of maturity is the ability to stand in a circle and cough politely. The irony, of course, is that the same adults who warn you about running with scissors will cheerfully send you to the corner store to buy their favourite brand. You stand on tiptoe, hand over a crumpled note, and return triumphant, the paper bag warm from the sun and the vague approval of the cashier. If you're lucky, you get to keep the change for a soda, also, incidentally, recommended by dentists. And when the commercial break ends, you're back to cartoons, a coyote falling off a cliff, a rabbit outsmarting the law, and a wolf puffing away between Acme products. You watch, wide-eyed, wondering which brand he prefers. By bedtime, your pajamas smell faintly of smoke, no matter how many times your mother insists you change. The message is clear. To be grown up is to inhale, to exhale, and to look impossibly cool doing it. The doctor said so after all. You fall asleep convinced that the future will be filled with white coats, wide open spaces, and just a hint of menthol. And for a brief moment, you hope grown-ups know what they're doing. Because if not, well, at least the commercials are entertaining. You can't remember your times tables, but you know every word to the jingle for liver-flavoured dog food. The catchier the song, the more likely you'll beg for the product in the grocery aisle, proving Pavlov was an amateur compared to Madison Avenue. Jingles don't just get stuck in your head, they build condos there, with all the amenities. The moment the commercial break hits, you're serenaded by a chorus of cartoon voices, tap-dancing children, and the suspiciously upbeat strumming of a ukulele. They sing about soap, soup, soda, and socks, all with the single-minded goal of worming their way into the soft, spongy part of your brain reserved for critical information, like your home address or where you hid your Halloween candy. Only the jingle is stronger. It persists. It outlasts you. Even now you can hum the melody for that shampoo commercial you haven't heard in 20 years. Your parents catch themselves whistling a theme for motor oil, mortified. No one ever sets out to memorize the jingle for Hamburger Helper, yet here you are singing it in the checkout line, as if hoping to be discovered by the local grocer and signed to a record deal. Madison Avenue understands what your math teacher never will. Repetition is power, and rhyme is destiny. A catchy jingle can override hunger, boredom, and parental resistance. You don't just want the product, you need it, urgently, as if the right brand of potato chips is the last lifeboat off the Titanic. Never mind that you have no dog, you still want the liver-flavoured dog food because the dog in the commercial looks so happy, and the song was just so dang persuasive. In the grocery store, the jingle's power is undeniable. Your mother tries to steer the cart away from the processed foods aisle, but your lobbying is relentless. But it's the crispy, snappy, happy snack. You plead, quoting the latest ditty with the earnestness of a child who's been deeply, permanently moved by 3 seconds of harmonized shouting. She rolls her eyes, but sometimes she relents. You win, the box goes in the cart, and you are victorious, not because of logic or taste, but because you were first to the chorus. Jingles don't discriminate. They target the old and the young, the alert and the sleep-deprived. Some brands commission entire symphonies, convinced that adding more trumpets will somehow make their toilet paper irresistible. Your siblings invent parodies, some clean, some not, until the whole house rings with mangled refrains. Even the dog looks confused, as if wondering why everyone keeps singing about biscuits nobody ever shares. At school, the playground becomes a battleground of musical memory. Whoever can recite the most jingles at recess wins a weird kind of social capital, the only currency more valuable than marbles. Forget spelling bees, this is the Jingle Olympics, and your training began in the womb. Plop plop fizz fizz, oh what a relief it is. You don't even know what it is, but you're pretty sure you want some. The grown-ups claim to be immune, but catch them in a weak moment, and they're humming the toothpaste song or tapping the steering wheel to the tune of I'd Like to Buy the World a Coke. The jingles work on everyone, whether you're shopping for life insurance or laxatives. By the end of the week, your head is a mixtape of advertising's greatest hits. As you drift off to sleep, the melodies linger, echoing in the soft static of your dreams. Your times tables are gone, but the jingle endures. Proof that when it comes to instant gratification, nothing beats a catchy tune and the promise that happiness is always just a chorus away. Every snack is atomic, space age, or glow in the dark. Your lunchbox is a science experiment with questionable FDA oversight, but the TV says it's packed with vitamins. If you glow at night, that's just proof it's working. You crack open your metal lunchbox embossed with astronauts, rockets, and a planet or two, and survey the landscape of processed innovation within. The sandwich is an afterthought, a humble stowaway tucked between the main attractions. Snack cakes with a chemical sheen, a packet of drink mix that turns water the colour of plutonium, and potato chips so thin you suspect they're the result of government-funded nuclear fission. There's a pudding cup in there that never spoils because science, and a granola bar that probably predates Sputnik. TV commercials have spent the whole week convincing you that these are the foods of the future. The kids in the ads look like tiny cosmonauts, bouncing in moon boots, grinning at tangy powders, and beaming with the smug certainty that their insides are being fortified at the atomic level. You want to be like them. You want to eat like them. So what if the cheese curls leave a residue that can be seen from orbit? That's just your body adapting to the modern age. Your mother buys snacks according to their fortified promises and futuristic packaging. Vitamin D, calcium, energy crystals. It's not clear what any of these things are, but if the box has a rocket or a jetpack, it's going in the cart. The FDA might have questions, but your parents don't. Why would they, when a commercial assures them that glowing green gelatin is both nutritious and patriotic? Red dye. Number 2 is a staple. Its job is to make every snack look like it was forged in the heart of a supernova. The TV claims this colour stimulates appetite and imagination. You suspect it might also explain why half the kids at recess are bouncing off the monkey bars at 9 a.m. You eat fruit snacks so neon that you could guide a ship to safety in heavy fog, and if the apple slices turn brown, that's just because they aren't trying hard enough. Atomic is a selling point, not a warning. The most popular drinks are powders in packets, poured into water and stirred until your beverage resembles liquid plutonium. You trade these at lunch like currency. The kid with the rarest flavour, aqua blue raspberry melon explosion, is basically the president. Sometimes you wonder if your teeth will ever recover, but then you remember the commercial. The smiling child, the waving astronaut, the solemn announcer swearing this is what real American kids eat. How could it be bad? You try to ignore the aftertaste. which lingers in your mouth for hours and leaves you with a vague sense of enhanced perception. Maybe that's the vitamins working. Maybe it's just regret. Even dessert is futuristic. Pudding cups sealed so tightly you could send them into orbit, marshmallows that bounce, candy that fizzes, and everything labelled space age, as if you're just one bite away from joining NASA. By the time you finish lunch, your tongue is stained, your fingers are sticky, and your sense of normal food is forever warped. In the evenings, you watch more commercials, the latest chocolate bar, the newest snack cake, the snack chip shaped like a UFO. Each one promises excitement, adventure, and the chance to be first among your peers to eat the future. You can't wait. And as you drift off to sleep, your stomach rumbling and your dreams filled with neon rockets and smiling spacemen, you think, maybe you really are eating tomorrow. Maybe, if the future is bright, it's only because the snacks are radioactive. The family sits down to dinner, not at a table, but hunched over metal TV trays, eating Salisbury steak while watching Lucille Ball make poor life choices. TV is not background noise, it's the main course. Each tray is a marvel of mid-century engineering, 4 spindly legs, a floral print, and a surface just big enough to balance a partitioned plate, a sweating glass of milk, and maybe a paper napkin if you're feeling fancy. The tray wobbles with every movement. You quickly learn that even a sneeze could send your peas rolling across the living room carpet, destined to be rediscovered months later by a confused Hoover. The family dinner table, once a site of deep conversation and occasionally cold silence, has migrated entirely to the world of moulded aluminum and vinyl. Meals are orchestrated to coincide with prime time. You don't just eat dinner, you perform it. The menu is determined as much by what's on the screen as what's in the fridge. If it's comedy night, you get something easy to chew, minimising the risk of choking during a particularly good punchline. If it's drama, you might get a casserole, dense, steady, a meal you can contemplate between plot twists. Your mother times everything perfectly, removing the TV dinners from the oven with the precision of a stage manager, calling places just as the opening credits roll. The TV trays democratise the meal in ways the old table never did. There are no assigned seats. Everyone gets a front row view, angled just so, no child left behind unless you're late, in which case you get the blurry side angle next to the hallway. Conversation, once the centrepiece of family dinner, is relegated to the commercial breaks, and even then, it's mostly commentary on the show. You know, your father once got his tie stuck in the washing machine, your mother says, as if this fun fact will somehow explain Lucille Ball's latest antics. The food itself is both a marvel and a mystery. Frozen dinners in partitioned trays, each compartment a little world unto itself, one for protein, or something protein adjacent, one for potatoes, one for a suspiciously shiny vegetable, and a tiny square of molten apple dessert that will burn your tongue well into next week. You dig in, grateful for the novelty, while the adults pretend it's a treat and not just a reprieve from cooking. No one mentions the nutritional content, mainly because it's classified. The television provides the soundtrack for every bite. Laughter, canned or genuine, drifts over the clatter of forks. You learn the rhythm of a sitcom, set-up, joke, pause for laughter, chew, swallow, repeat. Occasionally someone laughs so hard they spill gravy on the shag rug, but it's a small price to pay for shared entertainment. The show sets the mood. I Love Lucy, The Ed Sullivan Show, Dragnet. Some nights you watch people win a new car or a lifetime supply of rice-a-roni, and it feels just for a second like anything is possible. By the time the credits roll, you're licking mashed potatoes from your fork, ignoring the call to bring your tray to the kitchen. The living room looks like a battlefield. Crumbs, crumpled napkins, an overturned cup of milk, and the unmistakable evidence that someone tried to hide their peas under the sofa. But no one seems to mind. The glow of the TV has rendered you all a little more forgiving. You don't remember much of the conversation, but you remember the warmth of those evenings, the shared laughter, the feeling of being part of something bigger than yourself, even if that something was a family-sized meatloaf and a sitcom rerun. Dinnertime theatre wasn't just about the food. It was about gathering around the glowing altar of American culture, and together, learning to laugh with your mouth full. The lesson of the day: gravity is optional and violence is hilarious if accompanied by a sound effect. Parents fret about the youth, but the only lasting damage is to your sense of how physics works. Saturday mornings and after-school hours are a crash course in slapstick morality, brought to you by a rotating cast of animals with unresolved vendettas. Wile E. Coyote explodes, reinflates and dusts himself off, all before the Acme Corporation's logo even fades. Elmer Fudd gets a shotgun blast to the face, blinks twice, and shakes out a cloud of soot. Tom gets pancaked by a piano, and by the next scene, he's good as new. No vet bills, no existential reckoning, just a slightly dazed expression and a cartoon halo if things really went south. It's also reassuringly consequence-free. You, on the other hand, have to make do with band-aids and lectures about indoor voices when your own experiments with cartoon logic end with a toppled lamp. The TV, however, never seems worried. If someone gets bonked on the head with a mallet, it's not an injury, it's a punchline. As long as there's a boing, a splat or a slide whistle, no harm, no foul. You learn a lot from these animated chaos agents. For example, falling off a cliff is fine as long as you don't look down first. Chasing a rival through traffic is not only normal, it's an essential right of childhood. If your scheme fails, all you need is a bigger, more elaborate gadget, preferably ordered by mail from a mysterious desert catalogue. There are no parents in sight, no adults wagging fingers, just pure distilled rivalry, solved with slingshots, slaps, and a surprising amount of dynamite for an allegedly safe children's program. Your mother clucks her tongue in the background, worrying out loud about the effect this violence will have on your impressionable mind. The truth is, the only impression you're left with is that cats bounce, ducks survive hunting season, and if you're ever in a jam, just paint a tunnel on a wall and run through it at full speed. Physics is more of a suggestion in cartoon land, and consequences are strictly optional. You don't so much learn about empathy as you do about comic timing. There's a moral in there somewhere, buried under the rubble. The great irony, of course, is that none of these characters seem to stay mad for long. Rivalries are eternal, but so is forgiveness. Tom will chase Jerry again tomorrow. The coyote will dust off his fur and try again. Even at their worst, the worst is never permanent. Maybe that's the real lesson: resilience, persistence, and the comforting knowledge that nobody, not even a cartoon, stays flattened forever. Meanwhile, you and your friends reenact these lessons in the backyard, inventing new ways to chase, trap, and prank each other. Your traps are less effective, mostly rope, a cardboard box, and a lot of wishful thinking, but you believe in them with all the faith of a coyote ordering rocket skates. Sure, the most dangerous thing in your arsenal is a water balloon, but the principle holds. If you trip, you laugh. If you fall, you get up. And if someone gets a little too creative, well, that's what the emergency ice pack in the freezer is for. Years later, you'll realise you never learned how to solve a conflict with words, but you can still whistle the theme from Looney Tunes. You won't remember the plot, but you'll remember how it felt to see someone spring back, no matter how many anvils life dropped on their head. Because in the world of cartoon violence, nothing is permanent, except maybe the sound of laughter as the dust settles and the credits roll. And honestly, that's the best lesson of all. Somehow the TV knows exactly who's watching. Toys for you, dish soap for mum, aftershave for dad. You start to wonder if the man inside the TV can see you. It's uncanny, the uncanny valley of mid-century marketing. 1 minute you're transfixed by a high-speed car chase involving cartoon animals, and the next, A soothing baritone is addressing your mother by name, assuring her that only the new Lemon Fresh detergent can truly secure her place in the neighbourhood pecking order. As soon as she starts folding laundry, the pitch pivots. Now it's Dad's turn, and the announcer's voice drops half an octave. Suddenly the screen is filled with rugged men, three-piece suits, and cars so long they have their own zip codes. If you listen closely, you realise you're living through 3 different TV realities at once. For you, it's a non-stop parade of toys, breakfast cereals, and the wild promise that if you just eat enough cornflakes, you'll grow up strong, smart, and possibly able to leap a mailbox in a single bound. Every cartoon commercial is a carefully disguised wish list. Even the dog seems to get his own ads, glossy bags of kibble, endless varieties of biscuits, and the vague threat of bad breath if you forget the latest canine dental chew. Your mother's commercials are a relentless barrage of products promising transformation. Spot-free glasses, whiter sheets, floors that shine so brightly the neighbours need sunglasses to look in the window. Sometimes it's not even about the product, it's about the performance. Imagine the look on her face, the announcer says, when your bathroom sparkles like the top of the Chrysler Building. She glances around the living room, briefly suspicious, as if the neighbours are already judging her dust bunnies through the walls. Then it's Dad's turn. During the news or any show involving a hat, the ads become a masterclass in manliness. He's presented with a world of possibilities, luxury cars with more chrome than sense, aftershaves that promise instant respect, and cigarettes with taglines like "Built for Champions." Apparently, all you need to achieve rugged independence is a cologne that smells like fresh asphalt and success. You begin to wonder, does the TV know you're there? It always seems to deliver exactly what you didn't know you needed. Sometimes you stare at the screen, trying to catch the eye of the announcer. Just once, you want him to break script and say, "Hey, you in the pyjamas, lay off the sugar and go play outside." But he never does. He just smiles, winks, and resumes pitching the latest toy that makes your current toys look like antiques. Even mealtime is an exercise in demographic targeting. Commercial breaks during the family show feature a carefully curated mix. First, a toy for you, collect them all. Then a new type of instant coffee for Mom, followed by a car commercial so epic it could double as a short film about manifest destiny for Dad. You realise your entire family is being courted one after the other, like contestants in a never-ending game show called Who Will Buy the Most. Your parents pretend not to notice, but sometimes you catch them singing the jingles, their defiance worn down by repetition and the faint hope that, maybe, this really is the soap that will change everything. Even the dog falls under the spell, tail thumping in anticipation when the jingle for his treats comes on. By the time bedtime rolls around, your head is spinning with a jumble of desires. The toy you absolutely must have, the snack you've never tasted but now crave, the inexplicable urge to compliment Mom on the gleam of the linoleum. The TV has spoken, and each of you leaves the couch convinced you've made an independent decision, even as you shuffle off, humming different jingles in harmony. And as you drift off to sleep, you wonder if the man inside the TV will visit your dreams, pitching a better pillow, softer sheets, or maybe just the comforting certainty that, no matter what, he always knows exactly what you want, even before you do. Lead paint, asbestos, radioactive toys, all advertised as safe and wholesome. The TV assures you science has your back, and if you start to feel dizzy, just lie down until the dizziness goes away. This is the age of innovation, where the latest breakthroughs arrive not with caution but with confetti. Your home is a showcase of progress, each surface and appliance boasting the future's finest features, none of which, in hindsight, should be inhaled, licked, or left unsupervised near open flames. The living room walls, painted a cheery sunshine yellow, are glossy with lead. The windows are insulated with fluffy white asbestos, builder's miracle mineral fibre, and the new floor wax promises a sheen so bright it could double as an airport runway, assuming you don't slip and shatter a femur. It's all so reassuring. The TV commercials brim with trust. Cheerful mothers in pressed aprons spread paint with bare hands, smiling as their children trace sticky fingers along the trim. Dries fast, lasts forever, and non-toxic, the announcer crows, just before reminding you to keep out of reach of pets and grandmothers. Science has solved everything: mold, heat, noise, and possibly a few existential questions, so why ask what's in the formula? If it makes life easier, it must be safe. Toys are another adventure in reckless optimism. Your favourite chemistry set arrives with real uranium samples guaranteed to glow, and possibly guaranteed to cause your parents sleepless nights. You and your friends gather for science experiments, which usually involve something bubbling, something smoking, and a hasty dash for the door. The TV ad claims the set is fun for the whole family, and you believe it, at least until your eyebrows grow back. If you're not building atomic models, you're chewing on plastic dinosaurs, teething rings and dolls, all infused with a rainbow of heavy metals for that perfect colour and shine. The plastics smell vaguely of new car and regret, and you start to wonder why your tongue tingles after you've gnawed on the same toy for a week. Not to worry. The commercial assures you it's tested for safety, though the fine print is smaller than the warning on a pack of dynamite. The kitchen is a chemical wonderland. Non-stick pans leach their secrets with every meal, and the miracle oven cleaner can dissolve the toughest stains, and possibly your fingerprints. Even food gets a futuristic upgrade. Processed cheese glows in the dark, margarine is whipped with science, and canned vegetables retain the same nutritional value as the tin they come in. If you feel a little off after dinner, the solution is simple. Switch to another brand or just chase it with more tang. And yet everything looks so inviting. The colours are brighter, the surface is shinier, and even the dust seems more glamorous than in previous generations. The announcer insists your home is now safer, cleaner, and more modern, at least until you discover why your canary keeps passing out. The only real advice is to trust progress and call the doctor if you sprout a third arm. Your parents might joke about the good old days. When we were kids, we didn't need safety labels, but you suspect they're just trying to keep you from questioning why the attic smells like a science fair. The TV keeps smiling, the products keep coming, and you keep growing, maybe a little too fast, maybe in all the wrong directions. By bedtime, you're still a little dizzy, but the house sparkles, the toys glow, and you're convinced that tomorrow's inventions will be even better, shinier, and just a little bit more radioactive. After all, the future is bright, maybe dangerously so. Even your toys come with commercials teaching you how to sweep, iron, and smile through existential dread. The goal? Become the perfect little homemaker before you hit puberty. It starts early. Before you can spell domesticity, you're handed a toy broom and a plastic dustpan, your training wheels for the endless cycle of tidying, scrubbing, and dusting that will one day become your destiny, if the TV has anything to say about it. The commercials make it look fun. A doll in a frilly apron pirouettes with a mop beaming at the invisible cameras. The little girls beside her grin like their lemonade has been spiked with pure optimism. You absorb the message. Joy is a polished floor. Happiness is a wrinkle-free dress, and the height of achievement is matching your curtains to your throw pillows. The toys themselves are a curriculum. There's the junior laundry set, complete with tiny linty sheets and a clothesline for those long afternoons when your mother runs out of patience and hands you the socks to practice folding. The easy iron, no actual heat thankfully, lets you smooth out imaginary wrinkles in a future filled with metaphorical ones. And if you're really lucky, you'll get the Little Cook set, so you can prepare a feast for your dolls, or for your little brother, who will promptly refuse to eat anything that doesn't resemble a peanut butter sandwich. Every commercial, every jingle reinforces the lesson. A good girl is a clean girl. She picks up after others, wipes her brow with grace, and never complains about her lot, at least not out loud. The TV tells you to make cleaning a game, as if whistling while you work is the secret ingredient to a happy life. Your dolls come with tiny aprons and plastic pies, their permanent smiles daring you to resent your role as a cheerful caretaker. Meanwhile, the mothers on TV, always in pearls, never in sweatpants, move through their homes like ballerinas, vacuuming with one hand and dabbing at imaginary stains with the other. There's never a hair out of place, never a moment when they stare into the middle distance and wonder if they were meant for more. You don't realize it yet, but these performances are just that. Performances, staged for an audience that expects perfection and rewards it with another box of detergent or a pat on the head. You watch your own mother try to match the standard, her own pearls replaced by a tired ponytail and a robe with pockets stuffed with receipts and stray crayons. She folds laundry with the weary precision of a surgeon and glares at the latest ad for a miracle cleaner, knowing full well that a single product won't solve a lifetime of housework. Sometimes you catch her watching you and your sister sweeping the kitchen with your toy brooms, and she smiles, a real smile, not the plastic kind from the commercials, and so you play along. You sweep, dust, and iron, practicing for a future where the value of your work will be measured in sparkle and scent. Your brother, meanwhile, is building model rockets or shooting imaginary bad guys in the backyard. His commercials are filled with adventure, speed, and the promise that one day he'll drive a car bigger than your living room. The good housewife myth is sticky. Like syrup on the breakfast table, it clings to you even as you try to wash it away. But every so often, you catch a glimpse of the truth, hidden in the exhausted laughter of your mother or the moment you and your sister decide to use the Easy Iron as a spaceship control panel. Maybe you'll grow up to clean and smile, or maybe you'll rewrite the script, one chore at a time. Because while the toys may teach you to polish, fold and sweep, the greatest act of rebellion might just be setting the broom aside and seeing what else you're capable of. Pearls optional. You're not a kid, you're a cowboy, spaceman or secret agent, depending on which toy company paid for the best ad slot. Every playground is a Wild West shootout, and every conflict is settled by who has the most authentic hat. The transformation begins as soon as the commercial airs. There's no resisting it. The TV screen flickers with promises of frontier glory, astronaut fame, and the kind of authority that only comes with a shiny badge and the ability to yell "freeze" at your enemies, or, more realistically, your younger siblings. The latest ad flashes across the living room, a blur of six-shooters, jetpacks, and rugged sidekicks. Before the narrator can even finish telling you where to buy, you've mentally inventoried your costume options and plotted your next raid on the family coat closet. Your parents, wisely, try to stay out of the way. They've learned to recognize the look in your eyes, part manifest destiny, part sugar rush. Within minutes, you've secured a floppy felt hat, a dish towel tied around your neck, and the plastic cap gun from last Christmas, fully loaded with those little rolls of caps that smell like gunpowder and excitement. Your brother shows up as a rival cowboy, his get-up suspiciously similar to yours, but with the crucial addition of a genuine sheriff's star he liberated from a cereal box. The arms race has begun. At school, the playground transforms into a lawless expanse, half tumbleweed-strewn prairie, half lunar surface, depending on whether the space commercials aired during breakfast or lunch. Alliances form and dissolve in the time it takes for the recess bell to ring. Your best friend might be your trusty deputy one day, and a sworn enemy the next, all because he managed to snag the last cowboy hat at the department store. Factions rise and fall, badges change hands, and a paper towel tube becomes a telescope, a bazooka, or the world's most impractical lasso. You quickly learn that authenticity is currency. The more accurate your costume, the more respect you command. A store-bought holster is worth its weight in chocolate milk. Cowboy boots mean you get to call draw first. That plastic lariat you convinced your grandmother to buy. It's your Excalibur, your ticket to lunchtime legend. Your rivals, armed with nothing but optimism and sneakers, can only dream of such status. The commercials never mention how itchy the hats are, or how your parents will put their foot down when you try to wear spurs to bed. They gloss over the problem of sharing, a single badge and 10 would-be sheriffs. And nobody warns you that the holster makes it impossible to sit cross-legged without injury. Still, you endure, because style is pain, and fame is fleeting. The lines between reality and advertising blur. You start to believe you could actually ride a horse to school or outwit a space villain with your new ray gun. Batteries not included, of course. Your backyard becomes Boot Hill, the surface of Mars, and the set of every serial you've ever seen, all before dinner. The stakes feel real. Whoever loses the standoff has to eat the weird casserole with peas in it. Every night, you drift off to sleep with your hat beside your pillow and dreams full of high noon duels and dramatic rescues. You might not remember your spelling words, but you know how to say this town ain't big enough for the both of us with just the right squint. And years later, when the commercials have faded and the hats have lost their shape, you'll still feel a little thrill whenever you see a tumbleweed or a dish towel blow by. After all, the playground may be quieter, but in your head, you'll always be the quickest drawer in the living room. Sweets are everywhere, and the commercials are louder than your actual parents. You learn more about nutrition from bubblegum jingles than from school, which explains a lot about your dental records. Candy is currency. It's the national pastime, the glue that binds the playground hierarchy together, and the reason you're convinced that anything not neon-coloured is a health food. The TV works over time, broadcasting a rainbow parade of treats, gumballs, jawbreakers, taffy, lollipops as big as your fist. The announcer's voice is urgent, promising not just flavour but social dominance, adventure, and a tongue stained a shade not found in nature. Every commercial is a declaration of war. Two kids race down the block, elbows out, competing for the last pack of bubble gum at the corner store. A girl somersaults across a living room just to be first to the candy bowl. There's always a slow-motion shot of a wrapper being peeled back, a zoom-in on a cartoon mascot winking knowingly, and the absolute guarantee that if you eat this, you will be the coolest, fastest, happiest kid in your zip code. Breakfast blends seamlessly into snack time. It starts with sugary cereal, but by mid-morning, you're daydreaming about candy necklaces, marshmallow ropes, or those tiny packets of powder you pour straight into your mouth for an instant hyperactivity upgrade. By lunchtime, the trading begins. You've mastered the art of negotiation. 1 grape lollipop for 2 caramels, a handful of wax soda bottles for a roll of Smarties. The playground economy is ruthless. If you show up with a king-sized bar, you're mobbed like a minor celebrity. Bring raisins by mistake and you're exiled until further notice. Parental rules about no sweets before dinner are more guideline than law. The real authorities are the mascots, the gum-chewing baseball player, the wisecracking cartoon bear, the lollipop lady who spins treats like a circus ringmaster. They tell you what to want, how to eat it, and crucially, how to hide the wrappers before Mom gets home. Sometimes, you wonder if your parents even hear the commercials or if the jingle frequency is only audible to the under-12 crowd. Candy is more than a treat. It's a contest. You compete to see who can chew the sourest gumball, who can keep a jawbreaker in their mouth the longest, who can blow the biggest bubble without swallowing half the gum in the process. Dental hygiene is a distant afterthought. Your toothpaste probably tastes like bubble gum anyway, and besides, you trust the commercial when it says approved by 9 out of 10 dentists. By mid-afternoon, the sugar rush is at its peak. Your teachers glance nervously at the clock, aware that the post-recess sugar stampede is about to begin. Your handwriting gets shakier, your ability to sit still vanishes, and every worksheet is sticky in at least one corner. Nobody seems worried. This is just life as usual in a world where snacks double as rocket fuel. At home, your parents notice the missing cookies and the mysteriously empty candy jar. They sigh, mutter something about kids these days, and resign themselves to another trip to the grocery store. You, meanwhile, are plotting tomorrow's candy coup. Maybe the new chocolate bar featured on tonight's commercial. Maybe a plan to pool your change with friends for a jawbreaker so massive it requires a group effort and a complicated ownership agreement. The day ends with you tucked into bed, a faint sugar buzz humming in your veins. Your teeth may ache, but your dreams are sweet, filled with cartoon mascots, endless bubble gum, and the promise that tomorrow the commercials will bring a new treat, a new jingle, and maybe, just maybe, a trip to the dentist. Come 3:30 p.m, the TV launches a full assault. Potato chips, soda, processed cheese that looks like science fiction. You don't know what half the ingredients are, but you trust the cartoon mouse in the commercial. School is over, but the real learning is just beginning. You drop your book bag, kick off your shoes, and make a beeline for the living room, already craving that post-homework snack. The TV is waiting, glowing, humming, ready to spoon-feed you the true 4 food groups: salt, sugar, carbonation, and questionable dairy. The lineup is relentless. Every channel, every break between cartoons is a parade of snacks with names that sound like minor comic book villains and colours that would terrify the average fruit. You're not the target audience. You are the prey. There is no defence against the jingle for Ultra Cheese Dip, a product with the texture of wet cement and the flavour profile of melted crayon. The commercial shows a group of kids in a treehouse, laughing hysterically as they dunk chips into the fluorescent goo. It's fun! It's nutritious! It's sort of food, the announcer crows, and you believe him. He sounds trustworthy, and the cartoon mouse with a backwards hat agrees. Your kitchen is a laboratory of processed marvels. Potato chips that shatter like glass, cheese puffs that stain your fingers and every surface in a 3-foot radius, and a rotating cast of sodas, some clear, some green, some so caffeinated you'll still be awake when Johnny Carson signs off. You read the label for fun: monosodium glutamate, yellow number 5, something called hydrolyzed mystery. The commercials never mention these, but they do promise energy and fun in quantities previously reserved for rocket launches. Snack time is more than a meal. It's a mission. You angle for the best seat on the carpet, clutching your bowl like a medieval peasant hoarding turnips. Each ad break brings a fresh barrage of temptation. Microwavable mini pizzas, frozen treats on sticks, snacks that fizz, pop, or burst into flames if you microwave them wrong. Your friends have their favourites, and alliances form and crumble over debates about which brand of cheese curl leaves the best residue. Parents try to intervene sometimes. Don't spoil your dinner, they warn, wielding carrot sticks as if they stand a chance against the relentless onslaught of snack food propaganda. But the TV's power is absolute. No carrot ever had its own theme song. No apple was endorsed by a talking animal with a side gig in breakdancing. The snack food blitz is democratic. It welcomes all. There's something for everyone: crunchy, chewy, neon, or foam. If you have siblings, you learn to eat fast. The slowest child is left with the crumbs and the mysterious flavour nobody asked for. Negotiations get heated. Trades are made. I'll swap you 2 pizza rolls for your soda. Throw in the last chip and you've got a deal. Snack time is the free market at its purest, ruled by supply, demand, and how much you're willing to risk for the last chocolate sandwich cookie. By the time your mum calls you to set the table, you're already full of snacks, of commercials, of a deep suspicion that maybe, just maybe, food isn't supposed to glow in the dark. You wipe your orange fingers on your jeans, blissfully unaware of the nutritional reckoning to come. Still, you're content. Tomorrow, There'll be more snacks, more commercials, more cartoon animals leading you cheerfully toward another bowl of something you can't quite pronounce. And for a few glorious hours each afternoon, you're convinced that this feast of artificial flavors and animated mascots is the good life. You may not know what's in your snack, but you know this. After-school freedom tastes like sugar, crunches like chips, and comes with a jingle you'll never quite get out of your head. TV ads make it clear your hobbies, dreams, and future career depend entirely on your gender. You want the toy truck? Better hope you were born with the right chromosomes. Otherwise, enjoy your new tea set. From the moment the commercials start, the rules are spelled out in a rainbow of primary colours, with pink and blue doing most of the heavy lifting. The TV doesn't just tell you what to buy, it tells you who to be. Boys storm through mud puddles in denim overalls shouting crash, smash, build, before launching a fleet of miniature dump trucks off the front porch. Girls, meanwhile, glide across sunlit kitchens, gently cradling a plastic baby, or hosting a tea party with dolls who seem to spend most of their lives in a perpetual state of fainting. There's a clear line in the toy aisle. You learn it before you know multiplication. Cars, robots, and action figures for the boys, each ad louder, faster, and more explosive than the last. Every jingle is an anthem to rough-and-tumble adventure, to heroism, danger, and the inevitable rescue of either a plastic city or a slightly distressed dog. You're not just playing, you're in training to save the world, one battery-operated tank at a time. For girls, the pitch is different. Softer lighting, softer music, and always softer voices. Every product is engineered for domestic bliss or delicate artistry. Sparkly hairbrushes, tiny vacuums, kitchen sets complete with fake eggs, and an oven that will only ever bake imaginary cakes. You are the future homemaker, the caretaker, the little chef with perfect manners, and if the commercial has its way, a lifelong love of hand-washing dishes. You try to cross the colour line at your peril. The day you ask for the wrong toy, the universe, helped along by a few surprised adults and a disapproving store clerk, gently nudges you back into place. That's for boys, honey. Or, are you sure you wouldn't like this pretty doll instead? Even the toys themselves seem to know. The truck is blue, heavy, and comes with a tiny hard hat. The dollhouse is pink, dainty, and comes with a warning. Some assembly of gender roles required. The TV's message seeps into everything. Birthday parties, holiday wish lists, even your report card rewards. The catalogue is a map of futures pre-drawn. Science kits for boys, tea sets for girls, train sets for boys, makeup sets for girls. You realise your future is being packaged in glossy cardboard, delivered by smiling kids who look like they just stepped out of an Eisenhower-era yearbook. It's not just the toys, the snacks, the clothes, the sports gear, even the commercials for toothpaste. Everyone sorted, tagged and targeted. Boys are messy and active, girls are tidy and sweet. Boys need strong teeth for adventure, girls need bright smiles for charm. You start to believe it, even if something in you itches at the edges. Your parents play along, some with relief, others with resignation. It's just the way things are, they say, as they hand you the pink-wrapped birthday present or the blue-striped lunchbox. Maybe they really believe it. Or maybe, like you, they're just following the script handed down by a generation of jingles and gentle prods from the TV. You watch, you absorb, you sort yourself. Sometimes you rebel, sneaking a boy's toy into the shopping cart or trading for a girl's toy at school. Sometimes you settle, learning to make the best of whatever colour your box happens to be. Because in this parade the rules are clear. Blue for boys, pink for girls, and a future carefully colour-coded just like the commercial said. And you wonder, as the TV hums its final jingle of the day, if anyone, anywhere, actually liked the colour pink this much before advertising got involved. Ads promise that one spoonful of glowing syrup will cure what ails you. Rickets, scrofula, A general sense of malaise? There's a tonic for that. Just ask the cheerful mustachioed man in the lab coat. This is the golden age of miracle cures, where hope is bottled, branded and broadcast between episodes of Lassie and the Lone Ranger. The man on TV is always beaming, always trustworthy, and always a little too enthusiastic about the mystery elixir he's stirring with a spoon the size of a canoe paddle. Just 1 dose a day, he declares, as animated children leap over fences, climb trees, and presumably their own chronic fatigue. The bottle glows with a faint radioactive charm, and you're pretty sure it's the only thing in the medicine cabinet that could double as a nightlight. Your mother stocks the pantry like she's preparing for a siege. Bottles of pink syrup for tummy aches, yellow drops for pep, cod liver oil for whatever cod liver oil is supposed to do. You learn to dread the phrase, "open wide, it's good for you," a sentence that is almost always a lie. There are pills that fizz, powders that dissolve, and tonics that claim to fix anything from run-down nerves to growing pains. Some come with cartoon mascots on the box, as if a smiling giraffe can make up for the taste of liquid despair. Breakfast, already a performance of sugar and slogans, now comes with a sidecar of supplements. If you were to believe the commercials, a child deprived of vitamins will wilt like a houseplant. A child who swallows the latest miracle syrup will transform into a varsity athlete by Tuesday. Your mother, not one to gamble with her children's development, covers all her bases. You can't leave the house without at least 3 pills and a tablespoon of something fortified, enriched, or extra strength. You quickly learn to fake compliance. The syrup is viscous, sweet, and clings to your teeth with the tenacity of an old family grudge. The chewable tablets, allegedly orange-flavoured, taste more like regret. Sometimes you hold your breath, grimace and swallow, fueled by the faint hope that maybe, just maybe, this is the one that will give you X-ray vision. Or, at the very least, let you survive the next spelling test. The commercials are relentless. A chorus of cartoon vitamins dances across the screen, each one shouting about its special ability, stronger bones, better eyesight, an iron will and a golden heart. There's a tonic for every malady, a potion for every personality flaw. Lethargic, listless, feeling blue. Take a spoonful and watch the world snap back into colour. Mother's Little Helper isn't just a song, it's an entire section of the pharmacy. Of course, none of these cures are FDA tested in any modern sense. The fine print, if it exists, is lost beneath the logo. The side effects? Don't worry about those. The TV assures you that the only thing you'll notice is a newfound zest for life, and the desire to run outside barefoot, grinning at the sun. If you feel faint, that's probably just all the toxins leaving your body. Your parents trust these remedies implicitly. After all, they grew up on tonics and elixirs, and look how well they turned out. Slightly jittery, but full of pluck. There's a sense that science is marching forward, one glowing bottle at a time, and all you have to do is swallow whatever's handed to you and believe. By bedtime, your stomach is a swirling cauldron of vitamins, minerals, and whatever cod liver oil actually is. You're not sure if you're healthier, but you are wide awake, possibly from the pep pills, possibly from the faint glow now emanating from under your skin. Either way, the man in the lab coat promised you'd feel better. And who are you to argue with science, especially when it comes with a catchy jingle and a cartoon giraffe? You start to believe that happiness can be delivered via mail order, 4 to 6 weeks after you beg your parents to buy the amazing kitchen tool demonstrated by a man with suspiciously white teeth. Each commercial break is an infomercial safari, set in a wonderland where every problem, from peeling a potato to folding a fitted sheet, has been solved by a device so innovative, so singularly unnecessary, you wonder if the inventors ever actually met a potato. The announcer is always beaming, slicing, dicing and vacuum packing their way through life, insisting that with just 3 easy payments, you too can be transformed into the kind of person who hosts dinner parties with one hand and fixes a leaky faucet with the other. Your parents watch with a skeptical eye. They've seen this before, last year's Egg Slicer Deluxe, now collecting dust at the back of the drawer, a monument to optimism and questionable late-night judgment. But you are a true believer. The gadget on the screen isn't just a juicer or a self-stirring mug, it's a portal to adulthood, a promise that you'll finally unlock the secrets of grown-up life, one spirograph salad at a time. The order process itself is a ritual. You present your case to the family, complete with hand gestures and a recitation of every feature. But wait, there's more. You cry, parroting the announcer's enthusiasm. Your mum sighs, your dad grunts, and, if you're lucky, someone caves to your relentless campaign. Then comes the long wait. 4 to 6 weeks of hope, anticipation, and the slow realization that your future as a kitchen wizard depends entirely on the United States Postal Service. When the gadget finally arrives, the house is abuzz with excitement. The box is always smaller than expected, packed with cryptic instructions, mysterious attachments, and the kind of industrial plastic smell that lingers long after the last demo. The whole family gathers for the unveiling. Your dad reads the manual aloud, your mum tests the warranty, and you hover nearby, already picturing your new life as the envy of the neighborhood. Reality, however, rarely matches the commercial. The gadget is almost always complicated. The potato peeler jams, the salad spinner spins out of control, the magical folding hanger folds nothing but your hopes. The cleanup is daunting, the results underwhelming, and the mess epic. You try to hide your disappointment behind a flurry of, "I'll get the hang of it," optimism, but the truth is clear. The only thing easier than ordering this gadget was relegating it to the back of the cupboard with all the others. The commercials never warned you about this part. They never showed the frustrated mother covered in juice, or the proud father prying broken plastic from the garbage disposal. They never mentioned that the biggest innovation was in packaging, not performance. The gadget's best feature is often the box it came in, which now becomes a spaceship, a treasure chest, or the base of a snack-powered fortress. Still, the dream persists. There's always another infomercial, another pitchman with even shinier teeth, another product that promises salvation in the form of a battery-operated hairbrush or a set of knives that never need sharpening. You know, deep down, that you'll fall for it again. Because that's the power of the promise. Happiness, competence and order, just a phone call and several weeks of anticipation away. By bedtime, you're plotting your next pitch. This time, you tell your parents, it's not just a gadget, it's a lifestyle. And somewhere in the shadows of the kitchen, the Egg Slicer Deluxe quietly nods, waiting for company. Nothing signals the holidays like an endless parade of toy commercials, each promising to deliver joy, status, and possibly immortality, if only you're quick enough to dial the number on the screen. From the moment the Thanksgiving leftovers are stashed in the fridge, the airwaves transform into a festive battleground. Santa appears in every ad break, sometimes driving a sports car, sometimes shilling for batteries, sometimes just nodding approvingly at the latest robot dog. The jingle bells are relentless. Every cartoon mascot is suddenly wearing a red hat. Every commercial is coated in artificial snow, and the hope that this year, if you play your cards right, you might end up with the one toy to rule them all. You sit cross-legged in front of the TV, clutching a notepad like a general planning a campaign. The strategy is simple. Watch every commercial, circle the best options, memorize every product name, and practice looking appropriately awestruck when you inevitably spot them in the department store window. The stakes feel enormous. It's not just about getting a toy, it's about getting the toy. The one everyone at school will be talking about, the one that will ensure your social survival until at least February. The commercials themselves are cinematic masterpieces, complete with swelling orchestras and slow-motion shots of children tearing open presents with expressions of pure ecstasy. There's always a shot of a family basking in the glow of a perfectly lit tree, their living room inexplicably spotless, the children's pajamas coordinated, their hair brushed by angels. You know, instinctively, that your Christmas morning will be less glamorous, more wrapping paper in the dog's mouth, more frantic searches for AA batteries, but the dream persists. You become an expert in persuasive techniques. You quote the commercials at the dinner table, drop casual hints about the educational value of the latest action figure, and practice your surprised but not too expectant face in the hallway mirror. If the ad promises a toy as limited edition, your campaign escalates to DEFCON 1. You leave catalogues open on the kitchen counter, circle items in red crayon, and even try to enlist the family dog in your cause. The days leading up to Christmas are a flurry of anticipation and bargaining. You know, Santa won't bring you toys if you don't clean your room, your parents intone, wielding the commercial's promises like a cudgel. You clean, you wait, you dream. At school, the lunchroom buzzes with rumours. Who's getting the new race car set? Whose mum is friends with the toy store manager? Which kid's uncle works at the TV station and might have an inside track? The night before Christmas, you're almost too excited to sleep. You lie in bed, listening to the faint sounds of a last-minute wrapping and the hum of a television softly pitching a doll that can sing, dance, and, according to the commercial, probably replace your entire family. You're filled with hope, dread, and a sugar cookie-induced restlessness. Morning arrives in a whirlwind of paper, squeals, and parental exhaustion. Maybe you get the toy, maybe you don't. But in the end, the commercials did their work. The memory of that perfect, glowing commercial Christmas lingers long after the batteries die, and the robot dog is banished to the closet for excessive barking. And when the next holiday season rolls around, the cycle begins anew. Because in the world of Christmas commercials, the real magic isn't the toy at all. It's the feeling that for a moment happiness is just one phone call and several weeks of anxious waiting away. Are you getting enough iron? Is your bread fortified with extra nutrients? Should you fear the communist threat of margarine? TV ads will let you know, usually between commercials for atomic chewing gum. Every meal is a mini health summit, and every food choice is a referendum on your loyalty to your body, your country, and your mother's reputation as a provider. You can't take a bite of toast without wondering if it's enriched or just quietly plotting against your future. The TV offers no comfort. 1 minute, a friendly announcer insists you're dangerously low on niacin. The next, a stern voice warns that certain spreads could undermine the American way of life. If you ever wondered why your parents scrutinize the grocery bill like they're reading secret government documents, blame the man in the lab coat standing next to a loaf of vitamin-fortified bread. Breakfast is a chemistry experiment, with vitamins and minerals added for your health, and colours added for your happiness. The labels promise you'll grow up strong and smart, even if the ingredients list reads like a prescription pad from a particularly reckless doctor. Now with more thiamine, the commercial beams, and you briefly consider asking your parents what thiamine is before remembering the blank look you got last time you asked about riboflavin. Food paranoia becomes the background music of your childhood. You learn to fear what isn't there as much as what is. Is your milk homogenized? Is your cereal approved by the American Dental Association? And what about those rumours on the playground that margarine is actually plastic, or that eating too many hot dogs could lead to spontaneous combustion? The commercials don't dispel these fears, they double down, offering a new scientific breakthrough for every anxiety. Are your kids getting enough potassium? A worried mother asks as a child attempts to eat a rubber ball. Switch to Wonder Loaf and let science do the rest. Fads come and go faster than you can finish a bowl of glow-in-the-dark pudding. 1 year, it's iodized salt. The next, it's high-protein everything. Your mum chases trends with a grim determination, convinced that this new space-age supplement is the difference between honor roll and juvenile delinquency. You watch her pour a rainbow of pills into your palm every morning, muttering about fibre, omega-3s, and the importance of regularity. No one seems to know what half of it does, but the commercials say you need it, so you do. The food itself starts to taste like the future, vaguely metallic, occasionally sweet, and always a little off. Sandwich bread is fluffy enough to double as a pillow, orange juice comes from a powder, and meat is sometimes a philosophical question. Even the dog food is enriched for healthy coats and active play, according to the jingle that now plays in your nightmares. There's a creeping suspicion that your dinner table has become a Cold War battleground, with vitamins as the front line and marshmallows as the secret weapon. And let's not forget the fear campaigns. TV teaches you that the real enemy is not hunger, but invisible deficiencies. Iron, B12, vitamin C, any shortage, and you're doomed to a life of sickly underachievement. You catch your parents swapping horror stories with the neighbours about children who weren't fortified and grew up to be Canadians, probably. By bedtime, your body is half nutrients, half doubt, and your mind is abuzz with science facts, jingles, and warnings about foreign fats. You drift off wondering if you're getting enough calcium, or if you'll wake up to find a new vitamin has been discovered and marketed directly to you in a rainbow-coloured box by a man in a lab coat who seems to know your name. In the world of 1950s TV, you don't just eat to live. You eat to keep science, freedom, and mum's peace of mind intact, one fortified bite at a time. You don't compare yourself to your classmates. You compare your household to the perfect, eternally grinning families in detergent commercials. Your mother silently resents them. You just want their refrigerator. The Joneses on TV live in a perpetual state of bliss. Their children's hair shines like it's been buffed with car wax. Their fathers arrive home in sparkling new sedans, briefcase in one hand, confidence in the other. Their mothers glide through kitchens the size of small countries, not a speck of dust in sight, not a single casserole burnt. They never lose socks in the dryer or forget a PTA meeting. Even the dog is a purebred, no questionable mutts or mysterious stains on the carpet. You begin to suspect that somewhere, in a laboratory deep beneath Madison Avenue, these families are manufactured to make yours look perpetually behind. Your mother watches these commercials like she's studying for an exam. Each spotless countertop, each wrinkle-free shirt is a reminder of the gap between aspiration and reality. She mutters darkly about that woman with the pearls, scrubbing the kitchen twice as hard, convinced that somewhere the neighbours are watching through the curtains, keeping score on her baseboards and biscuit flakiness. Your family's linoleum may not gleam like the ones on TV, but you're pretty sure it's the only thing holding the kitchen together. The refrigerator is the ultimate status symbol. The TV assures you that nothing says success like a freezer full of ice cubes and a built-in butter compartment. The Joneses on the screen open theirs to reveal a kingdom of organised abundance. TV dinners stacked like golden bricks, a fruit drawer overflowing with produce, a mysterious cheese that no one touches but everyone admires. Your own fridge is less impressive. A half-eaten meatloaf, some wilted lettuce, and a carton of milk that might be old enough to vote. Still, every new commercial kindles fresh hope. Maybe this year, if your family switches to the right brand of floor wax, you'll be rewarded with a new fridge that dispenses both ice and social acceptance. It's not just appliances. The arms race extends to everything. Vacuum cleaners, lawn mowers, curtains, even the style of your front door. "Did you see what the Millers bought?" your mother asks, not really asking. She watches as another neighbour drags a new toaster from the trunk of a car, displaying it on the kitchen table like a war trophy. The TV eggs her on, promising that each product will bring your family closer to that elusive commercial-grade happiness. Your father isn't immune either. He studies the car ads, measuring his own rusty sedan against the chrome-plated chariots on the screen. He makes vague promises about maybe next year, all the while kicking the tyres of reality. you begin to realize that television isn't just entertainment. It's a scoreboard, and your family is constantly trying to close the gap. For you, the pressure is simpler. You don't want to be the Joneses, you just want their fridge, their TV, maybe their dog. You drop hints, clip coupons, and rehearse your lines for the next time a commercial comes on. Wow, wouldn't it be nice if your parents groan, but you catch them sneaking glances at the latest ads, a silent agreement forming that maybe, just maybe, happiness comes pre-packaged and can be delivered in 6 to 8 weeks. By bedtime, your family has collectively measured itself against 100 airbrushed households, each one more flawless than the last. The Joneses still reign, eternally grinning from behind their polished windows. But in the quiet dark, as the TV hums its lullaby and the fridge rattles to life, you feel the comfort of your own imperfect home, a place where the butter is always hard, the laughter is always real, and nobody expects you to smile for the camera after dinner. At midnight, the TV plays the national anthem, shows a waving flag, and then static. It's time to sleep, but you're left wondering, was any of it real? Or is the world just a long string of commercials gently rocking you to sleep? The end of broadcast day is its own ritual. You're bleary-eyed, huddled in pajamas, sticky with the residue of snacks, a little buzzed from a day's worth of sugar, and blinking into the light of a cathode ray tube. It doesn't matter if you're not patriotic by nature. The rising notes of the anthem pull at something primal, the soft flutter of the flag in black and white reminding you that the day, like the programming schedule, has officially run out of ideas. Your parents are already asleep in their chairs, soft snores keeping time with the final strains of the orchestra. Even the dog, usually the last to surrender, is sprawled out, dreaming of perfectly formed biscuits endorsed by a cartoon beagle. The house is wrapped in quiet, save for the muffled hiss of static, which seems to pulse in rhythm with your own heartbeat. Then comes the test pattern. Bright stripes, a bullseye, and that pure electronic hum. You stare, transfixed, as if some secret message might flicker through, a hidden code for kids who stayed up just a little too late. The world outside is silent. You can almost imagine the entire country, millions of living rooms glowing with the same strange rainbow geometry. A generation united by the mystery of what happens after the last commercial. You're left alone with your thoughts, a dangerous thing for a kid raised on a steady diet of advertising and canned laughter. Did the toys really make you happier? Did whiter socks and sparkling floors actually bring your family closer together? Is it possible to eat your way to good citizenship, or to become your best self with just the right breakfast cereal? In the darkness, you're not sure. The voices in the commercials made it sound so easy. All you had to do was buy, eat, scrub, and smile. Now, with the TV's light fading, you realize they never said what comes next. Existential dread, it turns out, is part of the broadcast package. The TV promised answers, how to be cool, how to fit in, how to be perfect, but now it's just you, a ghostly hum and a flickering screen that doesn't care if you're paying attention. There's comfort in the routine, even as you sense the absurdity behind it. The whole day, a parade of products and jingles seems suddenly fragile, like the toy you finally got for Christmas that broke by New Year's. But even as you question, you find yourself soothed by the rhythm of it all. The TV's sign-off is a gentle reminder. Every story has an ending, even if it comes with a sharp burst of static instead of a tidy moral lesson. The commercials fade, but their songs linger in your mind, looping like lullabies as you drift towards sleep. Tomorrow the anthem will play again, the test pattern will vanish, and a new day's worth of programming will begin. There will be more cartoons, more cereal, more promises of happiness in a can or a box or a bottle. You'll chase those dreams again, laughing at the same gags, humming the same jingles, and letting the screen tuck you in at the end of the night. And as you finally close your eyes, the static fading to silence, you realize that maybe, just maybe, The commercials aren't there to tell you what's real. Maybe they're just the soundtrack to growing up in a world that's equal parts absurd, comforting, and quietly miraculous. Sleep well and try not to dream in black and white. It's a typical Thursday afternoon when the doorbell rings and your mother transforms from homemaker to hostage negotiator. On the porch stands a man in a crisp suit, arms full of vacuum attachments and unearned confidence. The TV told you to trust men with briefcases, so you watch as your family's budget is vaporized in exchange for a device that might actually be a blender, a hairdryer, or a small nuclear reactor. You wonder if he lives in the TV, emerging only when the commercials run out. In the 1950s, every neighborhood has at least one, the roving ambassador of American innovation, peddling the promise of an easier, cleaner, shinier life. He arrives right after lunch, timing his pitch perfectly. Everyone's home. The house smells like lemon wax, and your mother is only slightly on edge from chasing you and your siblings out of the kitchen for the third time that day. He's a master of charm, never sweaty despite the heat, tie perfectly straight, shoes that have never seen a puddle. He starts with compliments. "Lovely drapes, Mrs. Johnson," he says, peering through glasses that sparkle suspiciously. He knows everyone's name, or at least has the right initials scribbled on the back of a business card. He glides into the living room, unpacks his arsenal, and within minutes the coffee table is covered in shiny gadgets, mysterious canisters, and instruction booklets that look more complicated than your math homework. You watch, wide-eyed, as the demonstration begins. The salesman's patter is relentless, a combination of TV jingle and tent revival sermon. "You've seen this on TV, haven't you?" he asks, already knowing the answer. "Of course you have." Only now the product is real, glinting under the living room lamp, promising to revolutionize everything from floors to feelings of inadequacy. The gadget's purpose is always a little vague. Is it a vacuum, a deep-sea exploration tool, or possibly a defense system in case of a Soviet incursion? The salesman assures you it's all three, plus it can delint your socks and entertain the children while you work. Your mother looks skeptical, but he's prepared for that. Out comes the free gift, a tiny sample or plastic doodad guaranteed to tip the scales in his favour. You marvel at his confidence. He plugs, unplugs, and replugs the device with theatrical flourishes, sucking up handfuls of flour, dog hair, and possibly the hopes of anyone still clinging to the family budget. He drops a few references to science, modern living, and keeping up with the Joneses. It's a performance worthy of prime time. By the end, you're convinced the future of the household depends entirely on this machine, and by extension, on the mysterious men who appear at your door with promises and pamphlets. Your father returns home just in time to witness the closing act. There's a tense negotiation, a little hemming and hawing, but the salesman is always ready. There's a discount just for today, an extended warranty, and if all else fails, the subtle implication that real men invest in the comfort and cleanliness of their families. Dad relents. A handshake seals the deal, and the salesman packs up, lighter by one vacuum, heavier by a signed check and the satisfaction of another household conquered. When he finally leaves, the house feels different. The device stands in the corner, humming faintly, daring anyone to question its necessity. Your mother tests it once, declares it interesting, and then quietly stores it behind the old mop. The next day, she's back to sweeping the old-fashioned way, but the salesman's ghost lingers, his smile, his promise, his assurance that with the right gadget, happiness is just a demonstration away, and you, watching from the doorway, wonder when he'll return. Maybe next time he'll bring something that really works. Or maybe, like the best commercials, he just leaves you hoping for more. School is supposed to be a break from advertising, but today the auditorium smells faintly of mimeograph ink and marketing. You're marched in for an educational presentation that, shockingly, is sponsored by a toothpaste brand. There's a puppet show, a dancing tooth, and a man who claims he's not selling anything, he's raising awareness. You leave convinced that your molars are plotting against you, unless you beg your parents for minty fresh pro paste. The entire affair feels vaguely conspiratorial. The principal stands at the podium, clearing his throat as he introduces Mr. Smiley from the Tooth Care Council, who is definitely not here to sell you anything. You spot the giveaway bags by the stage, plastic and shiny, with that unmistakable logo. Suspicion confirmed. The lights dim, and suddenly the curtain rises on a makeshift puppet theatre, its backdrop painted to resemble a mouth so enormous it could swallow the entire 5th grade. A perky woman in a white coat emerges, brandishing a giant toothbrush. "Hello, children," she sings. "Who wants to keep their teeth forever? You do, you suppose, though you weren't aware there was an expiration date." The puppets spring to life, each one designed by someone with a slightly too enthusiastic relationship to dental hygiene. There's Timmy the Tooth, Sally the Sweet Tooth Fairy, and the villain, Plaque Monster, who sounds suspiciously like your gym teacher after a bad lunch. The plot is simple. Timmy must resist the temptations of candy, cookies, and anything that tastes remotely like fun. Every bad decision brings on the threat of dental doom, exile from Tooth Town, eternal gingivitis, or, in the darkest moments, a fate known only as the drill. But hope arrives in the form of minty fresh pro paste, wielded like a magic wand by the Tooth Fairy herself. "Twice a day and you'll be okay," she intones, as a spotlight hits the branded tube like a holy relic. You glance at your classmates. Some are enthralled, eyes wide with terror or awe. Others are just waiting for the promised free samples. In the back row, the 6th graders nudge each other, already plotting how many tubes of toothpaste can be bartered for chocolate milk at lunch. You meanwhile start to feel the creeping sense of guilt only advertising can deliver. Have you been brushing hard enough? What about flossing? Is your breath fresh? Your enamel strong? Your gums a shining beacon of oral virtue? The existential dread sets in, flavoured with a hint of wintergreen. After the puppets, Mr. Smiley returns to the stage for a serious chat. He shows a film strip, black and white, deeply unsettling, of cavities growing like mushrooms on an abandoned tooth. The music is menacing, the narrator stern. "This could be you," he warns, "unless you remember to brush, floss, and always choose minty fresh pro paste." He never actually says it's the only toothpaste, but the implication is clear. Anything else is a gamble with destiny. At the end, everyone gets a goodie bag, a sample-sized tube, a stiff bristled brush, and a sticker that says, "I love my teeth." The teachers seem relieved. The assembly counts as science, health, and possibly a religious experience. You shuffle back to class, clutching your new supplies and quietly vowing to make up for every skipped bedtime brushing. By the time the bus ride home rolls around, the spell is already fading. The 6th graders are trading samples for gum, the sticker is peeling off your notebook, and you're eyeing your Halloween candy with renewed suspicion. But the message lingers, stuck in your head like the world's catchiest jingle. Only minty fresh pro paste can save you. And tonight, as you brush your teeth extra long, you realise that advertising doesn't stop at the living room. Sometimes it follows you all the way to school, dancing teeth and all. At 6 o'clock sharp, the TV shifts from cartoons to the news, which you quickly realise is just adults arguing, interrupted every 7 minutes by a man insisting that only his brand of margarine can defeat communism. You learn about foreign wars and rising prices, but mostly you absorb the quiet terror that your family isn't using the right floor wax. World events blur into jingle-laden panic. There's a moment of whiplash as the TV transitions from slapstick rabbits and Acme anvils to stern newscasters in charcoal grey suits. The grown-ups assemble in front of the set, plates in hand, as if expecting answers, or at least a commercial for something on sale at the corner store. The news anchor clears his throat, shuffles a stack of important-looking papers, and begins a solemn recitation of global disasters, local scandals and the weather, always the weather, which somehow manages to sound like an existential threat no matter the forecast. You sit cross-legged on the carpet, feeling the mood in the room shift from sugar-fueled chaos to tense anticipation. The news is supposed to be educational, a window to the world, but it mostly teaches you that adults are worried all the time and that everything important happens somewhere else. Names like Khrushchev and Eisenhower float through the air, mingling with the aroma of reheated meatloaf and the unmistakable whiff of floor polish. You try to pay attention, but the words blend together. Deficit, NATO market, instability, lemon fresh shine. Every few minutes the gloom lifts as the commercials return. Here comes the friendly face of the local grocer, the trusted voice of the floor wax man, the reassuring promise that no matter what happens in Moscow, your kitchen can still gleam like the halls of Congress. You begin to suspect that international peace might depend less on treaties and more on which detergent your mother buys this week. Your parents listen intently. Your mother, arms folded, staring at the anchor as if willing him to mention your family's name. Your father, nodding at political analysis and occasionally snorting at the sports scores. The arguments start quietly, then gather steam. Someone always has an opinion on what the president should do. Your mother worries about inflation, your father about taxes, and both seem to take personal offence at the price of beef. You don't understand much, but you absorb the anxiety, an undercurrent that ripples through dinner and lingers after the dishes are done. And then, like a clockwork joke, a soap commercial appears. A luminous housewife twirls through a spotless kitchen, praising a new product that makes floors cleaner than democracy itself. The jingle is impossibly catchy. For a moment, everyone forgets about the Cuban Missile Crisis and just wishes the grout in the bathroom would sparkle like the commercial promised. The anchor returns, gravely discussing world affairs, but your mind drifts back to the promise of a floor so shiny it could blind your enemies. You learn to associate certain brands with reassurance. Margarine keeps your family safe from foreign threats, or at least from dry toast. Laundry detergent promises a future where your shirts will never yellow, even if the stock market crashes. There's a kind of comfort in the rhythm. Bad news, worse news, jingle, soap, repeat. If the world ends, you'll go out with a smile and the scent of lemon-fresh bleach in the air. By the time the news hour winds down, your head is full of worries you don't understand and jingles you can't forget. The adults continue to argue, but softer now, their voices muffled by the closing theme. You wander off to brush your teeth, grateful for the ads that promised a brighter tomorrow, even if it's only in the form of a whiter sock or a shinier kitchen tile. And as you drift off to sleep, you realise the world may be uncertain, but the commercials are always there, ready to polish your fears to a perfect lemon-scented shine. Somewhere in your subconscious, you start to believe the families on TV are real, the ones who never argue, whose kitchens sparkle, and whose children are suspiciously clean. Every mishap is solved in 22 minutes, usually by a bowl of pudding or a stern but loving dad. You wonder why your own life isn't shot in soft focus, with a laugh track that kicks in every time you spill milk. The TV family is a breed apart. Their houses are always immaculately tidy, as if a cleaning crew is lurking just out of frame, ready to swoop in between scenes with mops and emergency doilies. The couches are pristine, the curtains unwrinkled, and the wallpaper never peels, unlike your own living room, where the dog has claimed one armchair and your little brother has used the wall as a test site for his latest crayon-based experiments. You start to think there's something magical in TV air, some secret ingredient that keeps stains and squabbles at bay. On television, family drama arrives on schedule and departs before the closing credits. The parents are always wise and understanding, dispensing advice with a gentle pat on the head and a well-timed sigh. Even when tempers flare, the worst consequence is a sheepish apology and a montage of loving glances over the dinner table. Your own family, by contrast, seems to specialize in arguments about who finished the peanut butter or whose turn it is to walk the dog. When things get heated, the only montage you get is a parade of slammed doors and a chorus of "not it" ringing down the hallway. The kids on TV are impossibly polite, their hair neatly combed, their socks matching without fail. They sit up straight at the breakfast table and thank their mothers for the orange juice, as if they've never once considered swapping it for chocolate milk. Their problems are charmingly low stakes: lost homework, a forgotten birthday, a misunderstood invitation to the school dance. The solution is always the same: a heart-to-heart talk with Dad, a knowing smile from Mum, and maybe, if the budget allows, a surprise visit from a beloved but eccentric uncle. Meanwhile, you struggle to keep your shoes tied, your shirt clean, and your homework within the same time zone as your backpack. You watch, transfixed, as the TV family navigates misunderstandings with the grace of ballroom dancers, rarely raising their voices above a gentle chuckle. You try to emulate them, just once, and end up with a sticky kitchen floor and a ban from using the blender until further notice. Even meal times are different. The TV family gathers around the table, hands clasped, ready to share the highlights of their day. They pass dishes with the poise of Olympic relay teams, never dropping a fork or spilling gravy on the tablecloth. At your house, dinner is more like a rugby scrum, a chaotic, occasionally affectionate contest for the last biscuit, with condiments flying and the dog darting underfoot in hopes of scoring a dropped meatball. You catch yourself wishing sometimes for a laugh track to soften the blow of daily disasters, a gentle reminder that spilled milk, broken plates, and the occasional sock left in the toaster are just part of the comedy of life. But the TV never lies. With a little patience, a good pudding recipe, and the unwavering presence of a loving parent, any problem can be solved before bedtime. As you drift off to sleep, you picture your family through the TV lens, bathed in soft light, music swelling, every argument resolved in time for the credits. You know it's not real, but for a moment it's nice to pretend. Because in the make-believe world of the TV family, every story ends with a group hug, and nobody ever stains the couch. Suddenly, the TV is urging you to shop for your country. Every product is all American, from canned peas to polyester pants. There's a parade of flags and an announcer who suggests that buying a domestic station wagon is basically defeating the Soviets. You're not entirely sure what communism is, but you know you're supposed to be very worried about it unless you're eating freedom fries at every meal. The commercials arrive with the subtlety of a marching band. "Look for the label made in the USA," the announcer bellows, as a montage of wheat fields, factories, and grinning children in red, white, and blue overalls flashes across the screen. The message is clear. Your grocery list isn't just about feeding the family, it's a matter of national security. Mum is scrutinizing cans of beans, checking not just the expiration date, but the tiny flag logo on the back. Dad is waxing patriotic about Detroit steel, as if the fate of the free world hangs on whether the new car has American-made tail fins. At school, you start to notice the difference. Lunchbox envy takes on a political edge. "That's a real American lunchbox," a classmate declares, pointing to one emblazoned with a football player and a waving flag. Your best friend's lunch, packed with all-American white bread and bologna, becomes a miniature declaration of allegiance. Imported cookies, once a treat, now raise suspicious eyebrows and the occasional lecture about supporting the homeland. Every commercial is a miniature rally, a blend of capitalism and patriotism that would make Betsy Ross blush. Canned soup is not just soup, it's American ingenuity in a can. "Don't let foreign cabbage cross your table," a jingle chirps, followed by a cartoon eagle head-butting a suspiciously continental head of lettuce. Frozen dinners are suddenly patriotic portions, and there's talk that real heroes only grill American beef. Even fashion gets a makeover. Polyester pants in bold, unnatural shades are sewn with freedom, the commercial claims, as models twirl under a rain of confetti and sparklers. You wonder if the founding fathers pictured a future where loyalty to your country was measured by how much static electricity your slacks could generate. Your mother pulls tags, frowning at anything that doesn't scream American manufacturing. If she finds a rogue Made in Taiwan label, the item is banished to the darkest corner of the closet. You don't really understand the Cold War, but you understand shopping. You practice patriotism by double-checking the label on your sneakers and refusing to trade your all-American chewing gum for the mysterious imported licorice your friend smuggled in from his uncle's vacation. You hum along to the jingles, "Buy American, be American," and add it to the ever-growing mental playlist of ways to be a good citizen. The news isn't immune either. Anchors remind viewers that domestic purchasing is a civic duty, and politicians give speeches next to factory lines, grinning as workers in matching hats box up potato chips destined for freedom-loving pantries nationwide. You watch, wide-eyed, as your dad mutters about tariffs, and your mum wonders if Soviet children are wearing such scratchy socks. By bedtime, your mind is swirling with the new rules of patriotism. Salute the flag, finish your canned peas, and never, under any circumstances, admit that French fries taste better than their freedom-fried cousins. You drift off, visions of eagles and waving flags mingling with the faint anxiety that maybe, just maybe, the real enemy is whichever brand of toothpaste your parents didn't buy this week. And in the morning, as the commercials resume, you're ready to do your part, one all-American breakfast cereal at a time. And so, as the TV test pattern flickers and the national anthem fades into static, you pull the blanket up a little higher, grateful that you survived another night in the wilds of 1950s suburbia. A world where children were raised by cartoon mascots. Dinner was served on a tray in front of the glowing screen, and the answer to every problem, from dirty floors to existential dread, came with a catchy jingle and a smiling announcer. Maybe tonight you'll dream of cap guns that shoot jelly beans, or find yourself running late for school because you're stuck arguing with a puppet about the best toothpaste. Maybe you'll remember the taste of space-age snacks, equal parts sugar and red dye number 2, or the soft plastic feel of a TV remote that weighed as much as a house cat. It's easy to laugh at the oddities and absurdities of 1950s childhood, where every hope, fear, and ambition was packaged and sold during commercial breaks. But beneath the surface-level silliness was a real resilience, a generation of kids who learned to question authority, as long as it didn't come from the TV, improvise with what they had, usually more marshmallows than sense, and find comfort in a world that changed with every spin of the dial. So tonight, as you settle into your bed, maybe with a little white noise in the background, maybe feeling the warm glow of nostalgia, or the relief that your dentist no longer smokes on TV, spare a grateful thought for the children of the 1950s. They survived atomic snacks, lead paint, and being marketed to before they could walk, and somehow came out the other side. History may be full of absurdity, but it's also proof that people are hopeful, creative, and just a little bit ridiculous. And really, isn't that what keeps us going? Good night, friends. May your dreams be free of commercials, and your sleep uninterrupted by the need to buy anything at all.